Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Eric the old jarhead here. If you watched my sorta sawmill video last, then you know I was having more trouble with the sawmill. I got the alternator and an alternator belt replaced and, well, seemed like it was working fine, but I did notice that the electric motors seemed to be running a little slow. By Sunday, when I tried to mill up the log that's right there, obviously I didn't mill it up, things weren't working. I would try to run the hydraulics and the engine would just about die. Well, that tells me it was running off the battery, not the alternator. So I ran some testing, if you watched that video, and if not, I'll drop a link down below for you to check it out. But I ran some testing, and sure enough, I was not getting a charge at the battery from the alternator, a brand new alternator. Well, there are some things I can check. And at the time, I was trying to pack everything up and get out of here and head home. So I didn't do any more testing. I figured to heck with it. I'll go home, get everything done that I need to get done. I'll call James over at Woodmizer, who apparently retired. So James, happy retirement. Talked to Kyle over at Woodmizer in Wood Village in Oregon. And he pretty much confirmed my thought, which was there's an exciter wire in the control that if it comes unplugged, then the alternator won't send any power to the battery. I've had that happen once before, about 8 years ago. That would be a surprise to me if that's the issue. But we'll open the console up and have a look. Now, one of you mentioned to me that not long after you got your sawmill, a mouse climbed up into the controls and ate all the wires. Well, let me tell you something. That freaks me out. But I'll tell you, if you look down here, these black wires here, they go up into a hole that goes into this black piece of metal that goes right into the control panel. Yes, a mouse could get in there. So, God forbid, cross your fingers. Let's hope there's no rodents in there chewing on the wires, because that will definitely make this a bad day. Hopefully, we find that something's loose. There should be no breakers, so I wouldn't imagine there's a breaker tripped. Hopefully it's just a wire loose. There's a couple things I can check, so let's get to it. All right, step one, don't forget your magnet. Well, let's hope there's no rodent in here. That would really be bad. If there isn't, we'll be putting some steel wool in that hole for sure. If there is, we'll put steel wool in there too, but we'll be doing a lot of splicing. I probably need to get a new gasket for this cover, considering I've taken it off so many times. Well, folks, here goes nothing. I have a green wire, not a yellow wire. I don't see any disconnected wires. I also don't see any rodents. That would really suck if you put your head down in there and I do not see any obviously disconnected wires. I think this green one is what he's referring to as a yellow wire, the exciter wire being disconnected, because that's the one I'm pretty sure I had to reconnect before. I was actually really hoping that there'd be a wire pulled off in there. Yeah, it's green over here too. Yeah, could it be that it's... Let's have a look here. And that's the green excited wire there. That is connected. All right, that's fine. That should be fine. We're grounded, so that's good. I don't see any issue with that wire there. All right, let me go get my multimeter. And one thing I could check, I guess, is the continuity of that wire too. Next thing, I think we'll go ahead and check continuity on that exciter wire. Rather than tear the whole mill apart, I can just pull the both ends off and make sure that I get a tone on my multimeter between the two ends. And as long as I can get a tone, that means electricity can go all the way through. If I don't, then it might be broken up inside somewhere and I have to go look for it. So, and it will ring at us if we have continuity. If you're not an electrician, that just means the wire's not broken. It's a way of checking to make sure that your wires are actually going all the way through. Oh, if I can reach this. Of course, my hydraulics are in my way. When you got bad thumbs, this is even harder. Oh, listen to that, hear that? We got continuity. So that wire's not broken. And that proves that the green wire is the exciter wire, not the yellow one. So that is fine. Put this back on at least partly, because if I get things working, I can maybe lube up the drum switches while I'm at it. So the way I was taught to troubleshoot things was to eliminate things one by one. You don't want to try to eliminate too many things all at the same time, because then you don't know what it was. So we tested the exciter wire. That's the wire that tells the alternator to provide a charge. It's got continuity end to end, so that means that it is connected to the dash here like it's supposed to be, and it works all the way to the alternator. That's probably why this light wasn't coming on, going red, when the engine was running. If the alternator's not providing a charge, that should go red, but for some reason it wasn't, and the alternator wasn't providing a charge. So the next thing we're going to eliminate is the EMP Shield. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll drop a link down below for you. I put an EMP Shield in the system, not necessarily because of EMP, though EMP would be really bad. That's electromagnetic pulse, and it can happen with a massive solar flare or a coronal mass ejection. I mean, as well as, you know, Chinese balloons that go boom at about 50 miles up. The reality, though, is that I've had problems with this mill for some time, and I know that it's been up here when there's been lightning storms, and I ended up having to replace the entire rear panel. I've had to replace, I replaced the O2 sensor, which nobody else has had to replace with the amount of time I have on the mill. That has always told me it didn't get struck by lightning, but lightning can travel up to a mile on the ground. So it's entirely possible that it got some residual effects, some gremlins as I called them, because of lightning. So what does that have to do with EMP Shield? Well, EMP Shield will protect your equipment from lightning. There was a guy on Facebook about 6 months ago who apparently lightning blew up his LT70 and he needed to replace all the electronics. Everything else was fine, but he had to replace all the electronics, and Woodmizer didn't have them all. And he had an active business, so he literally was out looking to buy another sawmill so that he could get back to milling while waiting on parts for his original sawmill. And I thought, well, that's why I have an EMP Shield, because number one, the EMP Shield should protect my mill from lightning. Number two, if for some reason it doesn't, then EMP Shield guarantees it with a $25,000 guarantee. And this isn't an EMP Shield video. I'm just telling you why that EMP Shield is on there. Now, why did I disconnect it? That's what we're getting to, right? EMP Shield is designed to detect voltage across the system, and if the voltage is greater than it's been programmed to detect up to or allow, then it dumps all excess voltage to the frame to the ground, right? So if it's faulty and it thinks that anything over, say, 12 volts is too much, it's excessive, then it'll dump it to ground, and it won't allow that excess voltage to go through the system, to charge the battery even. I disconnected it just to be sure, that's all. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and fire the mill up. Once we're fired up, and I'll double check the battery before I do, just to make sure it does in fact have a charge. Fire the mill up, and then we'll check out the battery and see if we're getting a charge. If we are, then I'll plug the EMP Shield back in, and if we don't, then we know it's faulty and I can just get a hold of EMP Shield, get a new one. But if there's no charge there, then it could actually be the alternator. And Woodmizer tells me it's alternator, ground, exciter wire. Well, I got a good ground, the exciter wire is good, and a brand new alternator. So if I don't get a charge off that alternator, then they better rush me an alternator quick, fast, and in a hurry. Let's find out. We've been messing around. It's been off the solar. So it should be sitting about 12.5, 12.6. Let's find out. Actually, it's at 13.03. Kind of went 03, 04, 03. So we're at 13 volts, folks. That's good voltage. So let's fire it up. Right now, the voltage has gone from 12.65 to 12.62. So to me, That means that alternator is not providing a charge like it's supposed to. Might be a real short video, folks. Brand new alternator. Oh, I see why. Interesting fact. If you don't plug the exciter wire into the back of the alternator, it won't provide a charge. But here's another interesting thing. That light didn't go red, and I think it should have. Let's plug that in. Typical old jarhead troubleshooting. Pull something off and scratch your head as to why things aren't working, and then notice that it's still pulled off, put it back on, and then try to see if things aren't working. Good Lord. Let's try that now, hey? It'd be funny if it actually worked right now. Oh, 14.75, 14.79. So the alternator's working. We got 14.79 volts at the battery with it running after I plugged that exciter wire back in. So let's find out if my EMP shield's faulty. Which would be an interesting test, because if EMP shield is preventing the alternator from charging the mill, that would mean that EMP shield is actually doing what it's supposed to do. There's just something wrong with the settings in it on voltage wise. And if this is the case, I'm gonna scream, folks. Okay, here we go. Is it EMP shield, or did I just wiggle something just right? 14.77. We're going to do a couple more tests, folks. I'm not going to leave you hanging. We need to make sure that when I run the hydraulics, everything works and it doesn't kill the engine. So I need to go get some gloves, and then I'll come back, fire it up. But it's very interesting. I'm wondering, of course, and I didn't lube up my drum switches, so I'll have to do that later. I just went ahead and put the panel back on. But I'm wondering if it wasn't a case that the exciter wire was off, but maybe there was a little corrosion. Maybe I need some no-ox on it. Maybe there's a little oxidation. Honestly, opened things up, looked at it, it all looked fine. No mice, thank you, no rodents, thank God. But I tested continuity, it was good, plugged everything back up, and lo and behold, I've got power. Now, I disconnected the EMP shield, and I had power. I connected it back up, and I have power. Everything seems fine. So I'm guessing that alternator's putting out about 14.8. I think they say 14.6 to 14.9. So it's right in the money there, a little bit on the upper end. That's great. I guess we're about to find out. I think what I'll do is I'll get my gloves, and I'll pull the covers off and get everything ready, and we'll pull the mill back and find out, can I really load this log up without the engine dying? That should be the last test, so let's go get that done. I think pulling the exciter wire off and putting it back on a couple times may have been all that was needed. I honestly can't say for sure. Nothing else seems to be faulty. I've got 14.61. It was climbing from 14.59 on the battery right now after using the hydraulics. I was getting 14.77 out of the back of the alternator. All those are good signs, but the battery was coming back up pretty quick, and it was at 14.61 when I shut her down. So this mill is running good, folks. I got light until after 7 p.m. I am gonna rock and roll and make some sawdust today, so stick around for that. And in the meantime, do me a favor. If you haven't checked out the old Jarhead merch down below, I've reworked some of the t-shirts for you. Some of them just have the logo on the left side of the chest. I think that's pretty cool. You got to get your Bourbon 30 mug, folks. Come on. I got to get to work, so I'm going to go ahead. I'll drop another video right here for you to check out, folks. I really appreciate you being here. I got work to do, so let me get to it. Y'all have a great day. The old Jarhead out.